Hamza, you were speaking before we went on the break, but let me just bring you back again to the conversation to get us continuing. There has also been the issue of vote buying, in previous elections, which took place, this year. Most recently, the election in Ekiti State. I mean, moving forward, how do we curb these things from happening?
Well, the Ekiti State elections was a total shame. It's a shame to our democracy, it's a shame to our institution, and it's a shame to electoral processes. Ondo election is around the corner before we go to the general election. And it tells you one thing. It tells you that perhaps INEC is getting it right in terms of election rigging. Before now, or before the introduction of card reader and accreditation process using the card readers, usually we see politicians who sways the results, but because of the introduction of card readers, most times they cannot manipulate the figures and the results. And mind you, just recently INEC also introduced a process whereby election results are uploaded immediately from every polling unit into a central server. So it also tells you that before now, when you're transporting result sheets from one polling unit to collation center, that some political talk hijack is no longer there. And the only way for corrupt politicians, and I usually call them money bags, and these money bags are people who have stolen our collective wealth over the years. To them, election season is about investment. And for them, they bring in money to intimidate voters and buy votes so that they can recuperate this investment. And that's why we Nigerians are not enjoying the dividends of democracy.
All right.
Again, it is quite sad. And I believe that there is an opportunity here for security agents who are involved in election observation and monitoring. I see no reason why we would not put people behind bars and hold them to account for them not to engage in this practice. Because if this continue, it will be a total shame to Nigeria's democracy and our process.
Let me bring in Mr. Jigwe again. Speaking of security agencies, I mean, how would you say they've done in the past elections, and how would you think, or how would you say they are prepared, for the coming elections? Ondo, of course, which is around the corner.
The security agencies have to be neutral. We have continued and we will sustain this conversation. They have to be neutral to all the political parties participating in an election. What we witnessed in Ekiti, what we witnessed in Kogi, does not really call for smiles. It calls for concerns. We will continue to advocate for a neutral policing where every political party fielding a candidate can feel safe and confident about the electorate being given a free hand to freely, like a free society, choose their leaders. But where we have a case where bosses are being snatched, opponents are being hounded, arrests are being made, electorates and voters are being tear-gassed, it is not what we really envisage for a free society and for a country like Nigeria in 2018.
Lastly, Mr. Jigu, lastly, just before we go, I mean, what about the electoral umpire? Would you say they are neutral enough? Quickly, in wrapping up.
Yeah, the electoral umpire, I think they are doing a good job. We will continue to implore them to be fair and be neutral. It is the whole world is watching, and their integrity is at stake. The Yakubu Mahmoud, the INEC chairman, is a man of integrity, and we want to implore him to continue to do that. We at ANRP, we believe and we still think that he can do the job. Please do not disappoint the millions of Nigerians who are hoping that he becomes a fair umpire.
Well, I have to say thank you to you guys for joining us today on the program. Hamzat Lawal, CEO, Connected Development, as well as the Secretary of the ARNP in Delta State, Mr. Jigu. Thank you again for joining us on the program today. But we'll take a quick break and we'll be back with the most viewed videos on our YouTube channel in the past week. Please stay with us.
We begin this week's most viewed videos with that of residents in Kwara State dancing on the streets after the Senate President announced his defection from the APC to the PDP. It is followed by that of the Oyo State government maintaining that they have no issues with Fresh FM Ibadan after its officials demolished the radio station's office.
Oyo State government has a problem with music house. Whether it's a canteen there, whether it's a whatever there, that structure will still be wrong. It has nothing to do with Fresh FM. Whatever they are doing in that place, that structure will still be out of place. Will still have contravened the law. So it doesn't have anything to do with Fresh FM.
In third place is the presidential spokesperson Femi Adesina, saying only the guilty get cold shivers down their spine when the president speaks about his anti-corruption war.
Talking of jailing thieves, it's only thieves and potential thieves that need to worry about that statement. If you are a thief, yes, you have every cause to worry. If you're a potential thief, you have every cause to worry. Because now in Nigeria, there was a time stealing was not corruption, but stealing is corruption today. And if you are caught in corruption, you will answer. Therefore, they have every cause to worry.
Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu at a point in time was at the receiving end of some certain unsavory development within the APC fold.
And a member of the PDP lambasting national leader of the APC, Bola Tinubu, over his comments on the defection of Tambuwal and Saraki to the PDP, comes in second.
Now, if Saraki has also shown this affection by the same administration, it means that it's something that's supposed to be shared. I had expected that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu would have been able to write to Saraki and say, look, I've also once suffered whatever you are suffering currently. It's just that I will not be able to leave this party simply because I'm committed to this party. But I don't think the fact that Saraki had left APC for PDP should be a concern of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. His preoccupation should be how to salvage a nation that is heading towards a major disaster. His preoccupation should be how to galvanize the Southwest Front and see how we can salvage Nigeria. It is not.
While the presidential hopeful Omoyele Sowore challenging incumbent President Muhammadu Buhari and other aspirants to a debate tops the chart as the most viewed video in the past week.
APC, the alternative is here. That is what we should be debating. We should be talking about the fresh ideas that we're bringing on the table to grow electricity, infrastructure, power, to stop corruption completely, not the type of anti-corruption war that APC is fighting where we replace some thieves, the old thieves with new thieves. Please, let's have that conversation. And if you want to be more serious, maybe you should start bringing these presidential candidates to debate us. Buhari should be brought out. The media should force them out of hiding. Let them come and debate the future of Nigeria. Nigerian young people have come to a conclusion where they have presented alternatives, and these alternatives are going to kick out the old guards in 2019.
Well, there you go. Those were the most viewed videos on our YouTube channel in the past week. But now that complaints have been raised about security, vote buying, and the need to quickly push legislation that will aid the conduct of free and fair exercise, Nigerians at home and in the diaspora will be hoping that these complaints will be sorted out sooner rather than later. And on that note, we wrap it up on this edition of Channels Beam. Thank you for watching. I'm Victor Matthias. But do remember, the conversation doesn't end here. It continues via the social media addresses showing on your screen. Thank you for watching once again.